The neon lights of Navrata X's capital pulsed with the rhythm of the interplanetary festival. Thousands of beings from dozens of star systems mingled in the streets, their diverse forms creating a living kaleidoscope beneath the planet's 3 moons. Vendors hawked exotic foods. Entertainers performed gravity-defying acrobatics, and the air buzzed with translator devices converting hundreds of languages into a harmonious cacophony. Amidst this carnival of cosmic cultures, Garo Stormchaser sat alone at a dimly lit bar, seemingly oblivious to the celebration. His worn leather jacket had seen better days, much like the tattered comic book he was reading. His boots were scuffed from countless worlds, his face weathered by stars of varying intensity. The only thing that looked remotely valuable was an ancient-looking bracelet on his left wrist, its metal dull except for occasional pulses of blue light. "Another synth brew," he muttered to the bartender, a 4-armed Venusian who slid the drink across with practiced precision. The device on Garo's wrist emitted a soft tick sound. He frowned, tapping it twice before returning to his comic. The ticking continued, more insistent. "Stupid thing," he mumbled, adjusting the device. 200 years old and still glitching. He didn't notice the 5 figures entering the bar, their movements synchronized like predators. They wore the unmarked black combat suits of mercenaries, with subtle energy weapons holstered at their sides. The lead figure nodded, and they spread out, surrounding Garo's table. "Hand over the Chronos device, Wanderer," the leader said, his voice amplified by a vocal enhancer. "We know what you're carrying." Garo didn't look up from his comic. "I'm carrying a half-finished drink in a bad mood, neither of which I'm interested in sharing." The mercenary's hand moved toward his weapon, the Chronos device. "Now," with a sigh, Garo closed his comic book. "You're interrupting a really good part, you know." What happened next occurred so quickly that most patrons would later disagree about the sequence of events. Garo's hand shot out, grabbing the leader's wrist and twisting it at an impossible angle. As the man dropped to his knees, Garo was already moving, a blur of calculated violence. He slammed 2 mercenaries' heads together, swept the legs from under a third, and somehow had the 4th pinned against the wall, all while his drink remained undisturbed on the table. The bar fell silent. Garo returned to his seat, took a sip of his synth brew, and reopened his comic. "Anyone else want to discuss jewelry?" he asked calmly. The silence was broken by the unmistakable hum of a royal-class starship landing outside. The bar's patrons rushed to the windows, gasping as they recognized the insignia of Elveria, one of the oldest and most powerful dynasties in the Nexus cluster. Garo didn't need to look. The tick from his wrist device had become a steady pulse, almost like a countdown. "Perfect," he muttered. "Just perfect." The bar doors slid open, and 4 women entered. Their presence commanded immediate attention, not just because of their regal bearing, but because of the stark contrast between them. The tallest wore a flowing silver robe, her platinum blonde hair elegantly coiffed. Her face was serene, eyes sharp and assessing. She carried herself with unmistakable authority. The second had midnight black hair cut in a precise bob, her attire more practical, but no less elegant. A tailored suit of deep blue that seemed to absorb light. Her gaze was cold, calculating. The third wore what appeared to be military dress, modified for royal status. Her auburn hair was pulled back, revealing a scar along her jawline. She scanned the room with tactical precision. The youngest had vibrant red hair, cascading in loose curls, her dress a swirl of yellows and oranges that seemed to complement her mischievous smile. Unlike her sisters, she openly gawked at the exotic bar patrons. "Garo, Stormchaser," the eldest said, her voice carrying the cultivated accent of Elverian nobility. "The prophecy speaks true. You bear the Chronos device." Garo took another sip. "Lady, I've been to 37 systems in the last solar cycle, and not one prophecy has paid for my drinks yet." The women exchanged glances. The eldest stepped forward. "I am Crown Princess Alara of the Elverian Royal House. These are my sisters, Princess Vex, Princess Zara, and Princess Miri." The youngest, Miri, wiggled her fingers in greeting. Alara continued. "The fate of our star system rests on your shoulders." You must return with us immediately. Hard pass, Garo said, returning to his comic. I don't do politics, prophecies, or princesses. The four sisters exchanged meaningful glances. Alara stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Claim me. Garo looked up, confusion crossing his face. What did you just? Before he could finish, the other three sisters moved with surprising speed. Vex grabbed his comic, Zara secured his arm, and Miri cheerfully relieved him of his drink. They steered him toward the exit, back toward their gleaming ship. Wait, what are you? Garo struggled, but found himself expertly maneuvered through the door. As the ship's hatch began to close, Alara stood at the threshold, her expression unreadable. Claim me, she repeated, and just as the door sealed shut, the other three sisters' voices rang out in unison. Us too. The royal ship lifted off, leaving the bewildered bar patrons with a story no one would believe, and taking Garo Stormchaser on a journey he had spent years trying to avoid. Inside the royal vessel, Garo found himself in a chamber that defied the ship's exterior dimensions. It was as though a palace ballroom had been compressed into the spacecraft, complete with crystalline chandeliers, ornate furnishings, and intricate tapestries depicting what appeared to be Elvarian history. What in the seven supernovas do you think you're doing? Garo demanded, yanking his arm free from Zara's grip. Kidnapping is still illegal in most systems, princess or not. It's not kidnapping if you're fulfilling destiny, Miri said cheerfully, flopping onto a hover couch. Besides, did you see how fast you took down those mercenaries? That was incredible. Listen, Garo said, backing toward what he hoped was an escape pod. I don't know what claiming means, and frankly, I don't want to. I'm just a guy trying to mind his own business. A guy with a Chronos device, Vex stated flatly, her cold eyes fixed on his wrist. A device that, according to our ancient laws, marks you as the soul sealed. The what now? Soul sealed, repeated Alara, who had entered the chamber. The prophesied partner who will bind with the Elvarian throne through the ancient rite of claiming. A mechanical butler droid whirred into the room, carrying a tray of refreshments. Ah, the kidnapped one is awake, it observed dryly. Shall I prepare the royal handcuffs, or simply the traditional engagement plasma chains? Neither, TAX8, Alara replied. Mr. Stormchaser is our guest. A guest who's leaving, Garo said, edging toward the door. Zara moved to block his path, her military training evident in her stance. The mercenaries who attacked you were merely the first wave. Prince Draxius has put a bounty on anyone carrying a Chronos device. Prince who? Garo paused. Prince Draxius of the Outer Nebula, Vex explained, her voice tinged with disgust. A power-hungry tyrant who seeks to claim the Elvarian throne through forced marriage. And what does any of this have to do with me? Garo asked, though the sinking feeling in his stomach suggested he already knew. Alara gestured to the largest tapestry on the wall. It depicted two matching devices, identical to the one on Garo's wrist, with beams of light connecting them. The Chronos devices were created by the first Elvarian king and queen, she explained. They are bonded to the royal bloodline. When the king died, he split the device in two, one half to remain with the throne, the other to find the next worthy ruler. I'm not a ruler, Garo insisted. I'm a drifter, a nobody. Your actions say otherwise, Zara interjected. Your combat skills are those of an elite warrior. The ship suddenly lurched, sending them all staggering. Alarm systems blared. Incoming hostiles, announced TAX8 with inappropriate cheer. Draxia's fleet has found us. How exciting. Battle stations, Alara commanded, and the ornate chamber transformed. The tapestries retracted, revealing sophisticated control panels. The chandelier descended, morphing into a holographic tactical display. Can anyone pilot this thing? Garo asked, as the ship rocked from another impact. Of course, Vex said dismissively. We're not helpless royals. But as the shields began failing under concentrated fire, it became clear they were outmatched. Move, Garo ordered, pushing past Vex to the navigation console. His hands flew over the controls with practiced precision. The ship banked sharply, evading the worst of the barrage. "The tertiary thruster is damaged," he called out, "and your weapon's matrix is calibrated all wrong." "How do you?" Zara began. "Less talking, more shooting," Garo snapped, executing a spiral maneuver that briefly confounded their pursuers. For 20 tense minutes, they danced through space, Garo's piloting skills keeping them just ahead of Draxia's forces. The princesses adapted quickly, following his terse commands without question. "You fly like a galactic commander," Zara observed during a brief respite. Garo didn't respond, focused on the readouts. "We need to land. There's a sensor shadow near that moon where we can hide and make repairs." X8 hovered nearby. "Oh my, our kidnappee is quite handy. Shall we keep him, your highnesses?" "That's not up to me," Ilera replied, watching Garo with new interest. "It's up to the prophecy." As they approached the shadowed side of Elveria's smallest moon, Garo's wrist device began to pulse more rapidly. The ship's systems responded, interfaces shifting to accommodate new commands he hadn't entered. "What's happening?" he asked as holographic displays flickered around him. "The Kronos device is connecting to our ship," Ilera explained. "It's drawing us home, to Elveria itself." Sure enough, their course had altered, pulling them toward a gleaming blue-green planet ahead. "No," Garo protested, trying to override the navigation. "They'll follow us directly to your homeworld." "They already have Elveria surrounded," Vex said grimly. "Draxia's forces have blockaded our planet for weeks. We only escaped to search for you because of a diplomatic ruse." "Then why go back?" Garo demanded. "We're flying into a trap." "Because Elveria is home," Miri said simply. "And with you and the Kronos device, we finally have a chance to save it." The ship broke atmosphere, skimming over vast crystal forests and floating archipelagos. The capital city rose from the largest island, a breathtaking amalgamation of ancient architecture and advanced technology. Crystal spires stretched toward the sky, connected by bridges of light. Gardens cascaded down terrace buildings, and anti-gravity platforms carried citizens between levels. But surrounding this paradise was the unmistakable shadow of war. Draxia's warships lingered in the upper atmosphere, while checkpoints controlled by foreign soldiers dotted the city's perimeter. "How did it come to this?" Garo murmured. "Our mother, the queen, died 3 months ago," Ilera explained softly. "By law, the throne passes to the eldest daughter and her claimed partner." Draxius emerged with the other Kronos device, demanding marriage and the throne. "So he's got the other half," Garo said, understanding dawning. "That's what those mercenaries meant." "Yes," Vex confirmed. "But the true soul sealed should carry the device as if born to it." Draxius stole his through violence. The royal ship descended toward the central palace, a stunning structure of crystal and light. As they touched down in a hidden hangar, Garo felt a strange sensation, as though the planet itself was welcoming him. They were met by an elderly woman in elaborate robes, flanked by royal guards. "Grand Priestess," Ilera greeted her with respect. "We have found him." The priestess approached Garo, studying him with ancient eyes. "Show me," she commanded. Reluctantly, Garo extended his arm. The priestess touched the Kronos device, and it responded with a series of pulses that illuminated patterns beneath his skin, circuitry-like lines that had never been visible before. "It has chosen well," she said finally. "But Draxius approaches. You have 3 days to complete the claiming ritual before he can force his suit under ancient law." "I never agreed to any ritual," Garo protested. "You have carried the Kronos device for how long?" the priestess asked. "Found it in a shipwreck about 10 years ago. Been stuck to my wrist ever since." "And in those 10 years, you never once tried to sell it? Remove it? Give it away?" Garo shifted uncomfortably. "It felt wrong, like it wasn't mine to give." "Because it isn't," the priestess said. "And it isn't yours to keep, either. It is part of a bond. Older than you, older than me, perhaps older than the stars themselves." A commotion at the far end of the hangar interrupted them. Guards stood at attention as a holographic projection materialized. A man in his 40s, handsome in a predatory way, with an identical Chronos device visible on his wrist. Princess Ilera, the projection said, his voice smooth as oil. You've returned with a pet? How amusing. Prince Draxius, Ilera replied coldly. Your welcome on Alvaria remains what it always was, non-existent. Draxius laughed. Yet here I am, with my fleet above your precious crystal spires. Did you think finding some vagrant with a replica would change anything? His eyes fixed on Garo. You wanderer. You have no idea what game they're pulling you into. That trinket on your wrist is just that, a trinket. Mine is the true Chronos device. Funny, Garo replied, surprising himself. Mine's never needed a fleet to back its claim. Draxius' smile tightened. 3 days, princess. In 3 days, by your own ancient laws, you must present a claim partner or accept my suit. Choose wisely. His image flickered and vanished. Well, Garo said into the silence that followed, he seems nice. You should not have antagonized him, Vex warned. Probably not, Garo agreed. But I've spent my life avoiding fights I can win. Maybe it's time I stopped running from the ones that matter. The Grand Priestess nodded approvingly. Follow me. The claiming ritual must begin immediately. The palace interior was even more impressive than its exterior. Cavernous halls lined with living crystal that responded to touch, ceilings that displayed real-time images of the cosmos, and gravity-defying furniture that rearranged itself for optimal comfort. In a central chamber with 4 branching corridors, the priestess stopped. The claiming ritual has 4 trials, she explained. 1 for each princess, testing different aspects of worthiness. Strength, intelligence, compassion, and royal resolve. Complete all 4, and the ancient magic will bind you as the rightful royal consort. And if I fail? Garo asked. Then Draxia's claim becomes uncontestable, Ilera said grimly. Forced to marry a 4-pack of princesses, or let them be forced to marry a tyrant, Garo mused. Some choice. No one is forcing you to marry anyone, Zara clarified. The claim is about proving worthiness to rule, not. She trailed off, embarrassed. Actually, Miri interjected cheerfully. The ancient texts are pretty explicit about the consummation requirements after. Miri, her sisters exclaimed in unison. What? He should know what he's getting into. Miri defended. The physical aspects of royal bonding are secondary to the spiritual and political alliance, the priestess stated diplomatically. First, you must pass the trials. TA, X8 word into the chamber. Shall I prepare the traditional funeral arrangements for our champion? Or is that premature? Very premature, Ilera assured the droid. If you say so, Your Highness. But the last 16 challengers did perish most spectacularly. 16, Garo repeated. Wait, how many people have attempted this ritual? 23 in our recorded history, the priestess answered. 7 succeeded. Those aren't great odds. Neither are the odds of surviving Draxius' reign, Vex countered. Garo studied each of the princesses in turn. Despite their differences, they shared the same determined look. The look of people fighting for their home. Fine, he sighed. Let's get this over with. Which trial is first? Zara stepped forward. Mine. The trial of strength. The military princess led Garo to a massive circular arena deep within the palace. Training weapons of every description lined the walls, and the floor was marked with ancient combat circles. I was trained by Commander Lysithea herself, Zara said, selecting a staff. I've never lost a match. There's a first time for everything, Garo replied, choosing a similar weapon. You're confident for someone who claims to be just a drifter. Garo spun the staff experimentally. Never said I was a good drifter. The match began without ceremony. Zara attacked with military precision, her moves textbook perfect. Garo defended, seemingly always a half step behind, yet somehow never taking a direct hit. Stop holding back, Zara demanded after several minutes, frustrated. I'm not, Garo insisted, narrowly avoiding a strike to his ribs. You are, she countered, increasing her tempo. You move like someone who's forgotten more about combat than most ever learn. For a moment, something shifted in Garo's stance, a momentary glimpse of formidable training. Then it was gone, buried under his casual demeanor. Maybe I'm just lucky, he said, dodging another attack. Luck doesn't explain this, Zara replied, executing a complex series of strikes that should have overwhelmed him. Instead, Garo seemed to flow around her attacks like water. When she overextended on a thrust, he spun past her guard and tapped her lightly on the back of the neck. Match, announced an automated system. Zara stood frozen, disbelieving. How did you? I've had good teachers, Garo said simply. Who? She demanded. Garo's expression darkened. People who aren't around anymore. Something in his tone made Zara pause. She studied him with new respect. You were military, weren't you? Command level. A long time ago, in a system far from here, he deflected. Does this mean I passed your trial? Zara touched her neck where his staff had made contact. Yes, but you could have defeated me much earlier. Winning isn't always the point, Garo replied. Sometimes it's about learning from your opponent. And what did you learn? Garo smiled slightly. That you fight honorably, even when facing a stranger you don't trust. That's rare in the galaxy these days. Zara extended her hand. You have my respect, Garo Stormchaser, and my support for the next trial. The second trial took place in a vast library where books, physical books, shared space with holographic data streams. Princess Vex waited at a circular table. The trial of intelligence, she announced. Not brute force, but mental acuity. Let me guess, Garo said, seating himself across from her. A test to see if I'm smart enough to rule. To see if you're adaptable enough, Vex corrected. Intelligence without flexibility is useless in governance. The table's surface illuminated, displaying a three-dimensional labyrinth, an ancient puzzle scattered with glowing checkpoints and shifting barriers. We must reach the center together, Vex explained. But the path constantly changes, and we must alternate moves. If either of us makes an incorrect choice, we start over. Sounds simple enough. It wasn't. The labyrinth responded not just to their movements, but to their thought patterns, scanning brain waves to predict and counter strategies. After their third failure, Vex's frustration became evident. You're not taking this seriously, she accused. This isn't just a game. On the contrary, Garo replied, studying the reset labyrinth. I'm taking it very seriously, but I think we're approaching it wrong. How so? We're trying to solve it separately. You go, then I go. But look at the design. He pointed to interlocking patterns along the borders. It's meant to be solved in tandem. Not alternating, but complementary. Vex frowned. That's not how the trial has always been conducted. Maybe that's why only 7 people have passed in your history. After a moment's consideration, Vex nodded. A different approach. Very well. They synchronized their strategies, communicating through subtle gestures as they worked through the puzzle. When robotic guardians emerged to block their path, Garo and Vex found themselves trapped in separate sections of the labyrinth. Now what? Vex called out, eyeing the advancing guardians. Trust, Garo replied. I can see your section, but not mine. You can see mine, but not yours. Understanding dawned in Vex's eyes. Left, she directed him. Then 2 spaces forward. Garo followed her instructions without hesitation, navigating past dangers he couldn't see. In turn, he guided her through her blind spots. Working together, they reached the center in record time. Impressive, Vex admitted as the labyrinth deactivated. Most would have tried to barge through on their own strength. Most people don't realize how much stronger they are with the right partner, Garo replied. You speak from experience? A shadow crossed his face. Let's just say I've learned the hard way what happens when you try to carry the universe on your shoulders alone. Vex studied him with her calculating eyes, then gave a single, decisive nod. You pass. And thank you for showing me a new perspective. The third trial took them outside the palace to a small village nestled in the crystal forest. Princess Miri skipped ahead, greeting locals by name. The trial of compassion, she explained cheerfully. My favorite. Why am I not surprised? Garo said dryly, though he couldn't help smiling at her enthusiasm. Their arrival coincided with a natural disaster. Crystal formations growing too rapidly, threatening to engulf the village. Panicked residents were evacuating, but several were trapped by expanding crystal structures. This isn't part of the trial, Is it? Garo asked, seeing genuine fear in the villager's eyes. No, but this is perfect, Miri exclaimed. A real test instead of a staged one. Without waiting for instructions, Garo rushed toward the nearest trapped villager, a young mother with 2 small children. The crystal was growing around their home, already blocking the main exit. Is there another way out? He called to her. The back window, she replied, voice trembling. But it's too small for an adult. Garo assessed the situation quickly. Pass the children through first. As the woman helped her children through the narrow opening, Garo used a fallen branch to slow the crystal's growth around the frame. Once the children were safe, he worked to widen the opening for their mother. It's still not big enough, Miri observed, having joined him. Then we make it bigger, Garo replied. He removed the Chronos device from his wrist, something he'd never been able to do before, and pressed it against the encroaching crystal. The device pulsed, and the crystal receded just enough for the woman to squeeze through. Across the village, similar scenes unfolded as they worked to save everyone trapped by the rapid growth. Garo organized evacuation teams, prioritized the most vulnerable, and repeatedly put himself at risk to reach those in danger. Hours later, exhausted but successful, Garo collapsed beside Miri on a hillock overlooking the now-empty village. That was amazing, Miri gushed. The way you used the Chronos device, how did you know it would work? I didn't, Garo admitted. It just felt right. That's exactly the point of my trial, Miri said, suddenly serious. Compassion isn't about following rules or traditions. It's about doing what feels right in your heart, even if it's risky. Garo looked at the young princess with new appreciation. You're wiser than you let on, aren't you? Miri winked. Don't tell my sisters. They might start taking me seriously, and then where would the fun be? They watched as the crystal slowly reclaimed the village, not as a disaster, but as a natural transformation. It was beautiful in its way, nature reclaiming what had been borrowed. Did I pass? Garo asked eventually. Miri leaned over and kissed his cheek. With flying colors. You didn't even hesitate to help, and you put others before yourself. That's exactly what Elveria needs. The final trial brought Garo back to the throne room, where Crown Princess Elara waited. Unlike her sister's trials, there were no puzzles, no physical challenges, no external problems to solve. There's only a single crystalline throne and Elara standing beside it. The trial of royal resolve, she said formally. The final test. Garo approached cautiously. What am I supposed to do? Sit on the throne, Elara instructed. That's it. He looked skeptical. Just sit down. If you truly bear the Chronos device by right, if you are truly meant to be Elveria's consort and protector, the throne will accept you. And if it doesn't, Elara's expression remained impassive. The results are occasionally fatal. Wonderful, Garo muttered. He stood before the throne, studying its crystalline structure. Before I potentially get disintegrated, I have a question. Ask, why me? Not in a prophecy sense, but personally. What made you four decide to kidnap me rather than find someone more qualified? We didn't choose you, Elara replied. The Chronos device did. It's been sending signals for weeks, leading us to you. But why would an ancient royal artifact choose a nobody from nowhere? Perhaps because you're not a nobody, Elara suggested. Perhaps because running from your past doesn't erase it. Garo tensed. What do you know about my past? Only what I've observed. Your combat skills. Your leadership during crises. Your strategic thinking. Elara stepped closer. You move like someone born to command, yet you hide behind the mask of a drifter. Why? For a long moment, Garo was silent. Then, quietly, because the last time I led, people died. A lot of people. War. Revolution. I was young, idealistic. Thought I could free a system from tyranny. His laugh was hollow. Turns out, freedom has a higher price than I could pay. So you've been running ever since. Surviving, Garo corrected. Staying under the radar. Not making waves. And yet, here you are, poised to make the biggest wave of all. Garo looked at the throne. I'm no leader, Elara. I'm definitely no king. Perhaps that's exactly why you should be, she replied. The ones who crave power rarely deserve it. The ones who understand its cost. They're the ones we need. With a deep breath, Garo sat on the crystal throne. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the throne began to glow, softly at first, then with increasing intensity. The Chronos device on Garo's wrist pulsed in response, sending waves of blue light up his arm, across his chest, until his entire body was illuminated from within. Around the throne room, ancient symbols blazed alive on the walls and floor. The air hummed with energy. Garo gasped as memories flooded his mind. Not his own memories, but those of Olveria itself. Centuries of history, traditions, struggles, and triumphs. The weight of an entire civilization pressed upon him, then lifted, leaving behind understanding. When the light faded, Garo remained seated, transformed not physically, but in presence. He sat straighter, his eyes clearer, his expression resolute. "I accept," he said, the words carrying the weight of ritual. "I accept the burden and the honor of standing with Olveria." A single tear slid down Alera's cheek, the first crack in her regal composure. "You have passed all 4 trials. The claiming is complete." The Grand Priestess entered with the other princesses. "Not quite," she corrected. "The claiming requires one final step, the unification of the divided Chronos device. Only then will the soul seal be complete." "Which means we need Draxius half," Zara noted grimly. "Conveniently, he's on his way here right now," Vex added, checking a datapad. "His forces have breached the outer defense perimeter." "I guess the 3rd day is coming early," Garo said, standing from the throne. "TA, X8 floated into the chamber. Impending doom approaches. Shall I prepare the royal evacuation protocols, or would you prefer I compose a stirring eulogy?" "Neither," Garo replied, a plan forming. "We're going to use Draxius' arrogance against him." In the following hours, Garo revealed strategic brilliance that surprised even Zara. He reorganized the palace defenses, established fallback positions, and created multiple contingencies. "The Treaty of Xylos gives diplomatic representatives safe passage," he noted during a strategy session. "We'll use that to get Draxius inside with minimal guards." "Then what?" Miri asked. "He's not just going to hand over his Chronos device." "No," Garo agreed. "But he wants a ceremony, recognition of his rightful claim. We'll give him exactly that, with a twist." The next morning, Draxius' shuttle landed in the palace courtyard. He emerged flanked by 6 elite guards, his Chronos device gleaming ostentatiously on his wrist. "Princess Alera," he greeted her with a smug smile. "I see you've accepted the inevitable." "I've accepted nothing," she replied coldly. "But ancient laws demand you be given an audience." They proceeded to the throne room, where Garo waited beside the crystal throne. The other 3 princesses stood nearby, their expressions carefully neutral. "So this is your champion?" Draxius sneered. "The vagabond with the counterfeit Chronos device." "I completed all 4 trials," Garo stated simply. "Have you?" Draxius waved dismissively. "Obsolete traditions. My claim comes from power, the only authority that matters in this galaxy." "Then prove it," Garo challenged. "Sit on the throne." Draxius hesitated, his confidence wavering for the first time. "The throne is merely a symbol. Afraid it might reject you?" "I fear nothing," Draxius snapped. He approached the throne but stopped short of sitting. "Enough games. By ancient law, my claim predates yours. I arrived with the Chronos device first." "A stolen device," the Grand Priestess interjected. "Taken by force, not earned by right." "Semantics," Draxius dismissed. "The laws say nothing about how the device is acquired, only that possession establishes claim." "True," Alera conceded. "But the laws also state that competing claims must be resolved through trial by Chronos." Draxius smiled coldly. "A duel, then? My champion against yours." He gestured to his largest guard, a towering figure with cybernetic enhancements. "No," Garo said. "The trial requires the claimants themselves to face each other, not proxies. You and me, Draxius." Draxius studied Garo with newfound wariness. "Very well. What are the terms?" "Simple," Garo replied. "The devices themselves will decide. When brought together in ritual combat, they will recognize their true master. It was a bluff, of course. Garo had no idea if such a thing would happen, but he was counting on Draxius' limited knowledge of Elvarian traditions and his overwhelming arrogance. "Prepare the ritual circle," the Grand Priestess announced, and servants hurried to clear the center of the throne room. Zara approached Garo as Draxius conferred with his guards. "What are you doing?" she whispered urgently. "You're making this up as you go." "Working with what I've got," Garo replied under his breath. "Trust me." Vex joined them. His guards are positioning themselves for an ambush. "They'll take you down the moment you're vulnerable." "I'm counting on it," Garo murmured. "Be ready." The ritual circle was formed, a luminous pattern on the floor that seemed to shift and pulse with its own rhythm. Garo and Draxius took positions at opposite sides. "Begin," the priestess intoned. Draxius immediately rushed forward, drawing a concealed weapon. Just as Vex had predicted, his guards moved to surround the circle, weapons ready. But Garo was faster. As Draxius lunged, Garo sidestepped, catching his arm and twisting. Their Chronos devices touched, and a blinding flash erupted between them. The energy surge knocked everyone back. When the light faded, both men stood frozen, their devices pulsing in synchronization. "What trickery is this?" Draxius demanded, trying and failing to pull away. "Notrik, Garori Blade, equally surprised." The devices are communicating. The air between them shimmered, forming translucent images, memories flickering too fast to comprehend. Garo saw glimpses of ancient Elvaria, battles long forgotten, ceremonies of binding and protection. And then, unexpectedly, he saw Draxius past, a young prince, last in line to his own throne, desperate for power. The theft of the Chronos device from a hidden vault. The murders committed to keep it secret. From Draxius' horrified expression, Garo realized the connection worked both ways. The usurper was seeing Garo's memories as well, his leadership during the failed revolution, his years of wandering, his reluctant heroism. "This is impossible," Draxius gasped, still struggling to break free. "The soul seal reveals truth," the priestess explained. "It cannot be deceived." With a roar of rage, Draxius managed to tear his arm free, breaking the connection. "Kill them all," he ordered his guards. What happened next was chaos. Draxius' guards opened fire, but the four princesses were prepared. Zara moved with military precision, disarming 2 guards in swift succession. Vex activated hidden security protocols, energy shields springing up to protect the royal party. Miri, surprisingly, revealed combat skills of her own, using acrobatic maneuvers to confuse and misdirect. And Alara stood calmly in the center, her regal bearing unshaken as she coordinated their defense through subtle hand signals. Draxius lunged at Garo again, desperation in his eyes. "I will not be denied." Their devices connected once more, but this time, Garo was prepared. He didn't fight the connection, but leaned into it, willing the ancient technology to recognize him, to accept him. The throne room filled with blue-white light, emanating from the 2 devices. Draxius screamed, not in pain, but in fury, as his Chronos device began to detach from his wrist. "No," he howled. "It's mine. I earned it." "You stole it," Garo corrected, his voice strangely amplified by the energy surrounding them. "It was never yours to claim." The 2 halves of the Chronos device pulled toward each other with increasing force. Draxius, unwilling to release his prize, was dragged along, his feet sliding across the polished floor. In a final, desperate move, Draxius drew a plasma dagger and slashed at Garo's throat. Garo barely managed to lean back, the blade missing him by millimeters. In the same motion, he swept Draxius' legs, bringing the would-be usurper crashing to the ground. The instant Draxius' concentration broke, his Chronos device tore free, flying across the space between them to unite with Garo's half. The 2 pieces melded seamlessly, forming a complete circle around Garo's wrist. The completed Chronos device pulsed once, twice, then emitted a wave of energy that rippled outward through the palace, the city, the entire planet. Everywhere it passed, Draxius soldiers found their weapons deactivated, their ships powered down. "What have you done?" Draxius demanded, struggling to his feet. "I didn't do anything," Garo replied, staring in wonder at the device. "It was never about me or you. It was about what Elveria needed." The Grand Priestess stepped forward. "The Soul Seal is complete." Elveria recognizes its protector. Draxius reached for another hidden weapon, but froze as the four princesses surrounded him, each holding him at the point of a ceremonial blade that had materialized from light itself. "It's over, Draxius," Ilera stated. "Your forces are neutralized, your claim invalidated. By the ancient laws you were so eager to exploit, you now face Elverian justice." "You can't do this," Draxius sputtered. "I'm a prince who committed theft, murder, and attempted conquest," Vex interrupted coolly. "Diplomatic immunity doesn't cover those crimes." TA X8 hovered nearby. "Shall I prepare the traditional execution chamber, or would the airlock be more convenient?" "Neither," Garo said firmly. "There's been enough death." He turned to Ilera. "Your justice system must decide his fate, but fairly, under law." Ilera nodded. "As you wish." She signaled to the royal guards, who took custody of Draxius and his disarmed men. As they were led away, Draxius turned back. "This isn't over, Wanderer. The galaxy is bigger than this backwater kingdom. You've made powerful enemies today. Wouldn't be the first time," Garo replied evenly. When they were alone, the four princesses turned to Garo, their expressions a mix of relief, gratitude, and lingering uncertainty. "So," Miri broke the silence, "does this mean you're our husband now? All four of us? Because that could get complicated." Zara elbowed her sharply. "Miri, what? We were all thinking it." Garo couldn't help laughing, a genuine laugh that released the tension he'd been carrying for days. "I think we need to clarify this whole claim business. The Soul Seal makes you Elveria's protector and royal consort," the priestess explained. "But the ancient laws were written in a different time. Modern interpretation allows for flexibility. Translation, you don't have to marry all of us," Vex clarified. "Unless you want to." She raised an eyebrow, the faintest hint of a smile on her lips. "One step at a time," Garo replied diplomatically. "First, we need to secure the planet and deal with Draxius' fleet." "Already happening," Ilera reported, checking a holographic display. "The Kronos device's energy wave has disabled their systems. Our forces are boarding now." "And what about after?" Garo asked. "What happens when the crisis is over?" The four sisters exchanged glances. "That," Ilera said softly, "is entirely up to you." In the days that followed, Elveria began to rebuild. Draxius' forces were disarmed and sent home, their leader imprisoned to await trial. The crystal forests that had overgrown the village were carefully guided into harmony with the settlements. And throughout it all, Garo found himself increasingly at home in a world he'd never imagined being part of. One evening, he stood on a palace balcony, watching the three moons rise over the crystal landscape. The Kronos device on his wrist hummed contentedly, as though it had finally found its purpose. "Penny for your thoughts?" Miri asked, joining him at the railing. "Just wondering how I went from reading comics in a dingy bar to this." He gestured at the spectacular view. "Destiny has a funny way of finding you, even when you're hiding from it," she replied with uncharacteristic wisdom. The other princesses joined them one by one, Zara with tactical updates, Vex with diplomatic reports, and finally Ilera, who simply stood beside him in comfortable silence. "I still don't understand why it had to be all four of you," Garo admitted. "The claimy, us two-part." Ilera smiled. "Elveria has always been ruled by balance. 4 elements, for seasons, 4 aspects of leadership. One person cannot embody all that is needed to govern justly. So when I said claim me, I was offering not just myself, but the balance we 4 represent," she continued. "And when my sisters said us two, they were completing that balance. You know," Garo said thoughtfully, "where I come from, people just ask someone out to dinner first." The sisters laughed, the sound like crystal chimes in the evening air. Speaking of dinner, Miri said, the celebration banquet is about to begin. The people want to thank their new protector. And we have an announcement to make, Ilera added. We do, Garo asked, surprised. Yes. She took his hand, her expression solemn yet warm. We're establishing a new form of governance for Elveria. A council of 5, representing all aspects of our society, with you as the 5th member binding us together. So I don't have to marry anyone. Garo clarified, relief evident in his voice. Not unless you want to, Vex replied, her usual coolness softened by amusement. But if you do, Miri added with a mischievous wink, I call dibs on first date. Miri, her sisters exclaimed in unison. Ta. X8 floated up to the balcony. The royal romantic entanglements continue to be delightfully awkward. Shall I update the palace betting pool? There's a betting pool? Garo asked incredulously. Of course, the droid replied. The kitchen staff have you paired with Princess Zara by winter solstice. The gardeners favor Princess Vex by spring. And the royal guard is unanimously supporting a progressive polyamorous arrangement by next. That's quite enough, Tay. X8, Ilera interrupted, a blush coloring her cheeks. As they made their way to the banquet hall, Garo found himself surrounded by the 4 remarkable women who had kidnapped him, challenged him, fought alongside him, and ultimately helped him find a place he might call home. You know, he said, I spent 10 years running from responsibility, from connection, from anything that might matter. And then one day, a princess said, claim me, and her sisters closed the door and said, us too. And now? Ilera asked softly. Garo looked at the completed Chronos device on his wrist, then at each of the 4 princesses in turn. Now I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Outside. The 3 moons of Elveria aligned perfectly for the first time in a century, their combined light turning the crystal forests into a sea of radiance. And somewhere in the vast cosmos beyond, new adventures waited. But they would face them together, 5 souls bound by destiny, choice, and just a touch of royal mischief. The end.